Hello there, Pencil Stashers. I'm Rachel, and I'm back after a week's hiatus. I'm so sorry about that. I wasn't feeling too hot. I'm sure my daughter brought something horrific home from school. But I am back this week with another coloring tutorial. And just real quick, before we even get started, when I started to color this page, it just wasn't speaking to me. I was kind of just coloring it in my usual style, but for some reason, I wanted to do more with it. I wanted to kind of take it up a notch. I wanted to kind of break through into kind of another level that I was kind of itching for. And I decided to kind of go outside of my comfort zone and to learn and practice a new skill. And so that's actually what we're going to be focusing on today. And speaking of learning new skills and putting them to use, this week's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, art, business, and much, much more. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to classes, communities, and workshops that are just right for you and your learning goals. Now, whether you want to fuel your curiosity, creativity, or even learn a new skill to further your career, Skillshare is the perfect place to keep you learning and thriving in 2019. They have classes on everything from improving your photography skills, drawing, learning the guitar, honing your Microsoft Excel skills. So if you want to improve your knowledge on any topic, Skillshare has a class for you. Like this class that I found on painting with colored pencils from Kendall Hilligoss that I found absolutely fascinating. Or this class that I'll actually be doing over the weekend to improve on my watercolor skills. So join the more than 7 million students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for our viewers. Be one of the first 500 people to use the link below in the description to get a 2-month free trial to check out all that Skillshare has to offer. And beyond those 2 months, Skillshare is super affordable. An annual subscription is less than $10 per month. And for access to all the learning and growth potential that it has, that is a steal. Act now for this special offer and start learning today. So like I was saying, I began to color and record this page. It's from Romantic Country's Third Tale. And as I started, something was just kind of off about it. It wasn't exciting me. And if I know that it isn't exciting me, it's certainly not going to excite you guys either. So I thought maybe I'm just in a rut. I haven't been feeling that great. Maybe I'm just kind of bit over my regular go-to coloring books. But then I realized that my coloring was just looking a little flat. Like the roof looked okay, but the buildings, they were all one color, very, very flat. The brick wall here was just way too much of the same tones going on, not enough shadows. The trees were all boring and flat. Anyway, you get the picture. But at the same time, I kind of knew that I could save it. I knew that this page had some potential. And so I began wondering, what can I do to elevate this page and not have it bore me to tears anymore? And I have been wanting to practice my realism a bit. It's certainly not my strong suit. I have a much more kind of stylized approach normally, but I thought it would be a great opportunity to hone that skill. And I feel I've been kind of overdue for a creative breakthrough of sorts, so maybe this was it. So the first thing I took a long, hard look at was the brick wall. I just wanted it to be so much more than I had done with it. So I started small and I took a few different greens and began to add in some moth growth at the cracks to just kind of sell the idea that this was not just a pristine brick wall. This thing had grime and mildew. This thing had some history to it. And I started off just kind of adding those greens in just a few places. And then I got a bit more adventurous and ended up adding it all over the place because I really liked how it was looking. And I found that I liked it even more when I added some French gray in just kind of a really light layer over top of the green. And then I blended it out with a dry cotton swab. Something about that combination was just really, really working. I really liked the way that it was coming out. And then the other thing that I knew that I needed was more shadows behind these leaves on the wall itself. As these leaves kind of all, fill in on the wall, they just create this canopy that I knew it had to be more shadowed than I had made it. So again, French grays, all behind these leaves here, kind of outlined each of them. And then I just kind of went in, behind there and just kind of created like an overall shadow there. And it really kind of drove home that 3-dimensional quality that it really needed. And then I moved on to the buildings themselves. I really didn't like how flat they looked. They were just a little boring. So I thought that they would benefit from some texture, but I didn't want it to be too textured. I wanted something subtle that I could almost kind of blend out later, like something that would look soft. So I took one of my French gray pencils and I very lightly penciled in some brick texture. And I really had to stop myself from pressing too hard at this stage, as I knew light pressure was going to be the key to making this work. I didn't have to draw bricks. I had to draw the illusion of bricks. And I tried to mix up the texture slightly on each of the buildings just to differentiate them in some way. And blending them out at the end with a dry cotton swab just kind of really softened everything up. And I'm actually super happy with the way that this turned out. It's actually one of my favorite aspects on the page. Moving on to the trees in our background. Again, not terrible, but could for sure benefit from some texture. So I went in with a dark green and began adding in these just kind of random curved lines, just kind of back and forth, almost in like an X pattern, just to again sell the illusion of that kind of pine needle texture. And then I did the same thing in a second layer right on top of that with a dark French gray. And I kept these textured lines kind of limited to just the shadowed side of each of the trees, as I liked the look of keeping that light side nice and clear. For the sky, it would be really easy to just kind of go in and color the whole area in one single blue and call it a day. But to elevate it, I knew I needed some depth, dimension, and a subtle layer of additional clouds to make it look special. So I went in with a few different blues and I worked in these kind of soft circular strokes, creating open space for white, wispy clouds as I went. Now for the path, I didn't like how few cobblestones the artist had drawn in. I thought it could benefit from some more. So I added in my own. I drew my own with my Sharpie fine liner, which is a really good approximation. It has the same kind of line weight and the same color as the artist's own lines. I even tried to mimic the look of the ones that were there, so I didn't close the loop on most of them. If you'll notice, not all of them are a closed loop circle. So I tried to mimic those just to make sure that they blended in. And when I went to color them, I mostly used just a few kind of French grays, but I threw in some kind of golden tones and some burnt umber tones just to mix it up a little bit, make it look a bit more natural. Moving into the center of our page, I knew that these front doors and these shutters and things were going to be an opportunity to add in some earthy colors and some warmer tones. So on these shutters, I thought a warm kind of wood texture would work well. And I even added in some additional wood texture by hand beyond what the artist gave us, just to kind of drive that home even more. The other thing I did to amp up the realism factor a bit was to make sure that I was adding shadows to objects that I sometimes forget to. So I added those shadows on the pathway here, kind of where like these shrubs and other things would for sure be casting a shadow onto our pathway. I even tried to amp up the realism on some of these kind of random little items scattered across the page, as you really can't ignore those. And call me crazy, but one of my favorite things to color is actually terracotta pots, especially in these romantic country books. Something about those warm orange tones and then kind of finishing them off with a deep purple, just the way that it comes out at the end, it's incredibly satisfying. And there she is. My page is all done, and I'm incredibly happy with the results. About 20% in, I was ready to walk away from this page and call it a day. But I knew it had potential, and with a bit more attention to detail and texture, this is easily one of my favorite pages that I've completed in a very long time. And I hope that you liked it too. If you did, hit the like button. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying my videos. Subscribe if you're new and leave me a comment down below. And what I really want to know this week from you guys is, do you have any new coloring book recommendations for me? I've been coloring in the same ones and I do love them, but it is nice to mix it up once in a while. So let me know what books you've been enjoying lately down in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out the link below in the description to get your free 2-month trial of Skillshare. Again, thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.